Hey everybody, and welcome to Rider Club Radio, the podcast all about Kamen Rider. I'm your host, Jeff.
And I'm Liam.
Today we're going to be talking about Kamen Rider Drive episode 43, as well as Superhero Taisen GP Kamen Rider 3.
Yeah, just when you've forgotten about it, it came out this week, so I'm quite excited to do a little talking about that.
I remember hearing about that movie coming out in Japan when I was a wee lad.
Little Jeff Jr.
Back home on the farm. So it'll be great to finally talk about it.
Yeah.
But
for
let's
now.
go ahead. Yeah, let's go ahead and skip that for the moment and talk about Kamen Rider Drive episode 43.
Yeah,
what happened today, Liam?
Let's talk about this fucking chaff, this filler, until Superhero GP. So today on Kamen Rider Drive episode 43, the cops now have the ability to fight Roid Mutes. They got the special guns. If you remember, Kiriko also had the special guns, but they didn't work for her. The cops can actually take the special bullets, and they can actually shoot and kill unevolved Roid Mutes, the generic ones.
They're the real police. Kiriko couldn't do it because she's a female cop.
Ugh. Ugh. And they also wear blinky gizmos, so they can resist the slowdown, if you remember slowdown.
Slowdown still exists.
Yeah, it happens in this episode. But aside from all that, the police are finally fucking pulling their britches up, like 3 episodes away from the finale. They've got their shit together and they can fight Roid Mutes now.
Yeah, they have an excuse for that. They say that Mikage was the one that was holding them back from doing that, which makes perfect sense.
Absolute perfect sense. The writers have been very good at covering their asses in this show, because that was almost certainly not planned. That was it just fell into place like a Tetris block. There it is. They're like, oh shit, that's perfect, amazing. So the cops have got their shit together. But none of that is important. They recover a thing from a dead Roid Mute that hints that there might be a second global freeze, because they've hit the promised number, and they're going to make another one that's going to be even stronger because there's 4 of them now instead of just freeze. And oh no, but who cares about any of that, because Chase the robot is in love with Kiriko, and he's about to take her up to the rooftop and confess to her when he notices that Shinosuke is having a little freak out right next to him, and he says, no, I'm not going to do this. He takes Shinosuke aside, and he says, Shinosuke, I'm in love with Kiriko. Are you in love with Kiriko? Do you think she's hot? And Shinosuke fucking chokes on his drink and splashes orange juice all over his face and dunks his head in Kool-Aid.
No, not me. You, not me.
That's stupid. No one could love Kiriko. Not you, not me. No one.
She's a horrible shrew.
Ugh, she can't even kill Roid Mutes. So he freaks out and he leaves, and later Chase even asks Mach for help, and that goes about as well as you would expect.
Yeah, it's perfectly framed in the exact same manner. It's shot for shot.
It's
step for step, exactly the same.
They're really good scenes. They're both really good scenes, and Mach also freaks out, but for totally different reasons, and obviously it's because he doesn't want his sister to fuck the robot. Whereas,
I love that scene. Go, can I fuck your sister?
It's like, I'm in love with your sister. What is she like? Where should I take her on a date? And Go's like,
Is she freaky?
Go's like, excuse me? What? What? So, yeah, Chase is getting laughs all around.
He's also drinking water.
He's also...
Makes total sense for a robot.
Well, it passes out. You don't see it, but it's going out his butt the whole time. There's a little tube. But back to the actual plot. They're nice little comedy scenes, but back to the actual plot. Brain is still on the run, if you remember from the last time. Brain does not want the global freeze to happen anymore. He's on the run. And
he's on the run in the disguise of one of the fucking aquabats, I guess.
Yeah.
He's just wearing giant black glasses and a turtleneck.
Yeah, it's the perfect disguise. He wears his usual glasses and has his usual handkerchief and doesn't hide his face. He just wears a hat and, drives a truck. And he's like, this'll do it. This'll do it. But he gets caught, and there's a big fight scene. And both sides are looking for him. Both the riders and the Roid Mutes, obviously, are looking for this guy to keep him away from the others. There's a big fight.
So there's a big fight scene with Medic.
Medic shows up.
And Brain and a bunch of Shinigami Roid Mutes, which I guess are probably going to be the last 22, are all going to be the Shinigami Roid Mutes.
I would imagine, yeah, the last 22.
Because they get fucked up.
Yeah, the last 22 that aren't evolved, they're going to be the Shinigami, other than, one other that we discover this episode.
Oh, yeah.
There's a fight scene.
We'll get to
There's
that.
a fight scene, and it disperses, and Brain manages to get away, but he plants something on Medic's back. A tracker, a spider tracker, if you will. And Brain, he's like, I know Medic is being controlled, I gotta save her. So he goes to the CIA, and he goes looking for like a connection that he can make to track the spider tracker, and there he meets fucking 004, and 004...
Well, first he has a flashback.
He has a little flashback to the guy he copied.
He has a flashback to his original person that he copied, who was just him. Like, there was no difference this time. It's just him.
Yeah, he took his personality pretty wholesale there.
And then 004 shows up. And who is 004?
004 is copying Krim Steinbelt.
He is fucking Evil Krim from the movie that they're advertising in this very fucking episode.
I would just like to say that I called this, when 004 was in that one movie Connection episode and then disappeared, I was like, well, he's probably... That must be it, right?
I don't remember you calling
I did.
this.
I remember saying this a few episodes ago. I'm very smart. I'm a very smart guy.
I want to take a sec... Actually, I'll get to that. You can go ahead and continue your fucking shit.
So Krim, 004 is copying Krim. He's evil Krim. And Banno's with him. Everybody catches up with Brain now. Since Krim's caught Brain, Banno's caught Brain. The Riders come and they also catch Brain, and they all have a big fight on a rooftop.
Nobody's there but Shinosuke.
Seriously? No, somebody else shows up, don't they?
No. Shinosuke and Kiriko are there.
Oh, okay, yes. Shinosuke and Kiriko.
Yeah, and Kiriko is just standing at the edge going, Tomori! Tomori!
Shinosuke and Kiriko and everyone start fucking fighting to see if they can get Brain. They get their asses kicked, everyone gets in a big fight, and Shinosuke kind of gets his ass kicked, and just when he's about to pull it off and shoot Banno with the big laser, Hart jumps in the way and says, I gotta do it or else he's gonna kill Medic. And Shinosuke's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, Shinosuke bitches out.
And then Kiriko is in danger. She gets attacked.
Yeah, she gets like a fucking steel beam falls on top of her, and she looks like she falls off the side of a goddamn building.
And Shinosuke's like,
again.
Kiriko! And then it's over. That's the end of the episode.
And then we get a preview of next episode, which includes Kamen Rider's 60-year-old Hobbit.
Wait, what?
Yeah, Kamen Rider Chief.
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy.
I'm excited.
So that's the episode. What did you think of this one, Jeff?
I want to take a minute out of this episode to ask, what the fuck, Toei? Like, you're just gonna give away who Evil Krim is in your fucking show?
Yeah.
Isn't that the whole thing about the movie? Like, Krim in the future is evil somehow, but how?
It's the big question in the movie, but I think what they're doing with this is, you notice that ever since the movie has been, like, building up to the movie's release, they reveal more and more and more about the plot. And now that it's out...
Yeah, but they revealed the fucking, like, actual plot.
Now that it's out,
they
pull out all their guns. They're like, here's the twist, okay? Here it is. He's 004.
You don't have to see our movie anymore. Fuck
yeah.
you. We're done trying to get you to see this shit.
It's already past opening weekend. It's made the money. Here's the twist, you asshole.
And then at the end, they still advertise it with, like, Evil Krim on the screen and shit. I'm like, I know who that is.
That's
I'm not going to see your stupid movie.
I know that. I think I might know the plot twist of this film. Just a guess.
That was just... I don't know. They could have had 004 show up and not reveal that he's Evil Krim.
Yeah, it's a weird move, for sure.
But anyway, let's go back to the real meat and potatoes of this episode, which is Chase wants to screw Kiriko.
Finally, we're getting back to that. It seems really sudden that we're getting back to it. Like, just the last couple episodes.
I was really worried about this stupid love triangle subplot, because love triangles are almost always painful and dumb. I don't like them.
But this one, the episode treats it with such levity that I think it's going to be okay.
It's a joke.
Yeah.
The whole love triangle is a joke, and I'm fine with that. If it's going to continue being this funny.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't become this big drama that swallows up the whole plot. But, I mean, we're so close to the end that there's almost no chance of that happening. So, I think it's fine. It adds some nice, like, comedy relief to the plot. So, whatever.
Although, unfortunately, like, Go had a chance to, like, shine pretty heavily in that scene. And he's still like, I hate roid mudes. I'm not gonna really emote too much except to be angry.
Well, Go is still Go, no matter how much time passes. He still hates roid mudes.
He's not the Go I love.
The Go you love kills roid mudes, even from the start.
I'm fine with that. It's just, I wish he would be his old self when he gets a chance. He could have made a really funny quip. But he never did. He was just like, I don't like you. We're not buddies. You can't fuck my sister.
He's gonna fuck your sister, Go. There's nothing you can do.
Just deal with it, dude.
The show...
Turn your eyes away.
Yeah, seriously. The show has, like, Go's character arc. I don't know if I mind it, but he turned from comedy relief to tortured soul, which was a bit of a swerve.
Yeah, and it's pretty fucking sudden as well.
Something tells me that it was another thing, just like the Shinosuke's father plot, that they didn't really plan for.
Yeah.
I have a feeling.
There are people that point out that, like, the previews and stuff for Kamen Rider Drive didn't mention Mach.
Didn't they ever?
To my knowledge, he's not mentioned in any of the, like
before the
stuff
show?
we're seeing now for Ghost.
Oh.
Like the preview stuff and everything.
Yeah.
Mach wasn't mentioned in any of that.
No, Mach wasn't revealed until a little later.
Yeah, so there are folks that think that he was kind of shoehorned into the series.
Oh, I don't know if they would shoehorn an entire rider in. Except for maybe Chaser, because his suit looks like it was cobbled together in an afternoon, but... Man, fuck that suit!
I don't know if I believe that either. Also, I like the Chaser suit.
Oh, man, that's disgusting.
Well, it must be tough having all those wrong opinions, buddy.
You'll have to tell me how that is sometime, Jeff.
You can look in the mirror and find out, you fucking plebeian.
I'll look in the two-way mirror that leads to your room, you shit. So I'll see you.
You have a two-way mirror that leads to my room?
Yeah. Yeah.
Alright.
Okay.
I guess I'll live with that.
Did you like this episode or not, Jeff?
I liked this episode alright. Like I said, I have a really big problem with 004's reveal. That, like, deflated all the air out of the movie for me. I don't even care to see it that much anymore.
Did the movie have air for you in the first place?
It was like a half-deflated balloon. It could have floated.
The movie looked kind of cool, but it was obvious, I think, from the start that they were going to do a cop-out like that, because there's no way it can be the real Krim. It could
have been cool if it was like Bano or something. Like future Krim was Bano and he had taken over like a Roid Mude Krim body or something. That was what I was hoping was going to happen. But Bano can't be the final villain in a movie and the TV series.
Yeah, that would be kind of cheap. We can only get
cheap like Gold Drive, you mean?
We can only get Gold Trideron in one thing, unfortunately. So we'll have to wait for that.
I'm starting to think that Gold Trideron isn't going to happen.
Yeah, it looks like it's not. Thank fucking God.
Oh, don't be such a baby.
No, I'm glad. That would have been shit. Fuck
I don't know what I find more shit, like that base Drive painted gold is the villain of this series, or if he turned into Trideron, which would be worse for me.
Yeah, this episode, like we were saying, we said a lot, maybe either Bano's going to be the villain or they're going to beat them and turn on Heart. It really looks like it's going to be Bano as the final villain now.
Yeah.
The Roid Mudes like Heart, Brain, and Medic are portrayed in a very sympathetic light. Like, Bano is a cruel, evil master, and Heart wants the Roid Mutes to be happy together.
Like, they have that scene where the Shinigami Roid Mute shows up, and Bano just starts beating him up for no reason. He's just like, I'm gonna show how much of a bad guy I am right now.
He just starts curb stomping the poor guy, and Heart has to jump in his way and take the curb stomps for him.
And Bano keeps kicking Heart and, like, making fun of him.
He's like, you're getting in the way! Heart! You're getting in the way!
You know what Gold Drive needs is a giant handlebar mustache and a stovepipe top hat on his head so he could just be snidely fucking Whiplash and call it a day.
Absolutely. Instead of a mask, just have a monocle. It's perfect.
He just needs a giant mustache to twirl and...
have him tie Drive to some train tracks for the season finale.
You know he'd tie Kiriko to the train tracks. And she'd still only be able to yell out, Tony!
Yeah. This episode, I thought, was pretty good. It's better than the last episode.
Yeah, it was better than the last episode. I guess I didn't really think about that jump in quality, but it's back to about where it was before.
Yeah, we have a nice final villain setup. There was the 004 thing was a little dumb, but we have a nice final villain setup. We have the initial villains portrayed in a sympathetic light, which I think is kind of neat. There was some good comedy relief. So, yeah, all around, it was a pretty decent episode.
Yeah, it was a pretty good episode. I mean, a few things, of course, stand out, like the 004 thing. I also wonder What is 004 going to do exactly? Is his whole purpose from now on to be like an unevolved Roidmude that attacks when Bano attacks? Or is something going to happen with him?
I have not the foggiest fucking idea. I don't know, Jeff. Like, it's I guess he's got Krim's brain, he's got Krim's knowledge. So I assume maybe he's gonna make some super final weapon, or he's gonna help with the global freeze, maybe? Like, he's got the super scientist brain. So I assume it's gonna be something like that. Maybe he'll figure out how to create Gold Trideron. I don't know. Ugh.
I don't know how I feel about that still.
That's what I think.
Hart is very sympathetic now. Like, he always was. I kind of think Hart is one of the best villains in Rider, actually, because he's so sympathetic as a character. Even though he's doing something so fucking evil, you see where he's coming from even before we got his backstory because of how much he cared for Roidmudes. They were his people.
Yeah, when Hart started, he wasn't too deep of a villain, but you get to see more and more sides of him as the show goes on, and you, like, by this episode, you're basically rooting for him, which is pretty cool. I think that's neat for a villain in a series to have. Like, it's not like he's good, he didn't reprogram, he hasn't joined the SCU, he's still kind of a bad guy, but, like, he's got a little more to him than most Rider villains, which is good.
Yeah, he's still a bad guy, and sometimes it's kind of jarring when he's like, yeah, I want to fucking subjugate humanity, and you're like, oh yeah, this guy's a villain. Yeah. I forgot.
He's not like irrationally, stupidly evil like Bano, where he's just killing his own allies and beating them up left, right, and center. He's just, he loves his people and he hates those other people. That's his thing.
Yeah. He's like a leader in like the real world who would do horrible things to other countries or whatever as long as they can protect their country.
Like a Roidmude nationalist. Yeah, that sort of thing. It's a cool angle.
And that's really compelling as a character. On the other hand, we have Bano, who showed up in the last 10 episodes and has no personality. And his entire goal seems to be do whatever is most evil.
Showed up in the last 10 episodes, has no personality beyond being evil, and his costume is a recolor. So he's got a lot going for him. Oof.
This makes me wonder how this series is going to be remembered. Because think of how slow it was at the beginning, and how nothing ever seemed to happen. Then all this plot started happening that was really good, and then it ends with the main character as a recolor with evil scientist as the final villain.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about that too. It seems like Drive, like the chart for Drive, is going to be bad beginning, fantastic middle, and just like ending. Like not terrible ending, but just ending. Which is a shame because it's like it's hard to recommend a show like that where you have to wade through some shit to get to it, and then the good stuff is over. And you have to wade through more shit just to finish the show. And I guess, it's not, I wouldn't call it shit now, but it's not half as good as what we had around, like, the 20s, 30s. Like, it's a drop.
Yeah, and it is tough to recommend that to somebody because, I'm worried that we're not going to get a satisfying payoff to this series. We have a build-up, but it's going to fizzle out.
Yeah, I agree with you. I have some news regarding the payoff to this series later. So we can discuss that.
In the end, I think this is a decent episode. It's not a high-tier episode. It's not bad by any means. The comedy in this episode was great.
Top-notch.
Sometimes the comedy in this show can be a little, groan-inducing.
Yeah.
But this episode had just the right mixture of it. Like, the way the cafeteria scenes were filmed make it infinitely enjoyable the whole time through. I was just laughing the entire
scene. Yeah, the cinematography was very good for the comedy. It was cleverly shot.
And
with the angles.
The actors are so, like, expressive, but they're not, like, over-the-top ridiculous expressive.
Yeah.
Even when Shinosuke was, like, throwing orange juice in his face and stuff, it was still, like, a good level of comedy.
Yeah, he kept it restrained enough. It was good. There was one especially funny bit in this episode when the SCU has discovered that there's going to be another global freeze. They found the evidence for it. And Gen and Q are like, yeah, let's do it! And Q goes for a high five and Gen goes for a fist bump, and they end up like doing this sort of awkward halfway thing in between, and then they stand there for a second, they're like, alright, let's get to work, okay.
I realized in that moment that you and I are Gen and Q as people.
I already knew I was Q. It didn't take me this many episodes.
Yeah, it took me a while to realize I was Gen. I couldn't look in the mirror. I just couldn't face it.
In denial for so long, but here it is.
Yeah, it was a decent episode. Things in the future don't bode so well.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
I agree. It's a good enough episode, but it heralds bad things. So we'll see. We've got not long left to judge the ending of Drive. Just a few more weeks.
Yeah,
so.
Things are coming up quick, and then we jump off into Ghost.
Oh boy.
And I've continually said that we're going to enter into a suicide pact when Drive is over. That's a joke, folks. We're gonna do Drives. You don't have to write in about it anymore.
We did, yeah. We joke a lot about how we're gonna stop once Drive is over. We're not. We're gonna stop when we get bored, which is how God knows how long that ends up being. So don't worry.
And tune into the future Rider Club Radio, where two 60-year-old men talk about children's television show from Japan.
I'll fucking do it. I don't care.
Yeah. Fuck it. I'll do it on my walker.
We'll be old and experienced, and we'll have really refined taste, unlike now.
We'll have shit taste then, just like we have shit taste now. Why don't we move on to some news, Liam? What happened in the world of Kamen Rider this week?
Bit of house cleaning first. The site that we use for most of our news is Orend. You know Orend.
Orend's is down.
Orend's is dead. Google took it down for multiple copyright violations, even though the site sources all of its stuff. It got taken down. I have no idea. It's horseshit. I have no idea if it's going back up or if they're going to figure something out. Hopefully they do. I hope the best for them, because they were my personal favorite news source for Toku.
Yeah.
But yeah, for now, all of our news links, like 3/4 of them, are going to lead to a 404. So there's nothing wrong with your computer. It's Orend is dead, and I looked for replacement links for a lot of the news files, like the news pages, and the reason I fucking used Orend is because they report on a lot of stuff that nobody else reports on, frankly. Like, TokuNet doesn't have half the stuff that Orend has.
We love TokuNet.
We love you, TokuNet. You are our second favorite.
TokuNet has a much larger, wider, expansive style of what they do, so they can't get all the little stories. They're doing stuff like interviewing stars and showing press junkets and stuff. They have more inside info, but Orens is usually the info that we're looking for.
Orens usually cites TokuNet as a source in a lot of Kamen Rider stuff. So yeah, TokuNet is like the inside guys. Orend is the filter through which you view TokuNet a lot of the time, for me at least. They're a good site, or they were. Hopefully they're not dead. For good. I
would really like to see them come back.
Yeah.
Because that's where I get most of my news as well, so it's a shame that it's gone.
We'll have to wait and see. Fingers crossed. So pour one out on the curb for Orend. May the best come to them.
We hardly knew you.
Anyways, on to actual news. The final episode of Kamen Rider Drive is going to be written by Nobuhiro Mori. It's not going to be written by the usual writer. He wrote the Baron and Knuckle Gaim Guidance, and it's apparently going to feature Kamen Rider Ghost in the same way that Gaim showed up in Wizard's finale.
Yeah, Wizard's finale was also written by a writer that wasn't the main writer for the series. It's considered an extra.
Yeah.
And so that worries me a little bit as well, because Drive's final episode is going to be an extra episode.
Yeah, I mean, it's a trend. Gaim had an extra episode as well. It didn't have a Drive cameo, but it was like a really awkward, 6 months later story, and it was fucking trash. So
I think I really hope we're not going to get into that.
Worst case scenario, we can it's at least a little piece of garbage at the end that we can ignore. It's not stuck in the middle of the series or anything like that.
I guess that's true.
But
I mean, we get little extra things stuck in the middle of the series all the time, just like fucking Gaim's soccer episode, or the episode that has
Kikaider. That was a good one, though.
Yeah, I liked the Kikaider episode a lot.
The soccer episode was stupid, but Kikaider was pretty neat.
I didn't mind the soccer episode that much either.
Okay.
I liked the Kikaider episode. It made me really want to watch the movie, which I still haven't done.
I don't know. I don't even know if it's subbed. I don't know if it got subbed.
I think it was subbed.
Yeah? I didn't check.
You know, I'll watch it eventually.
Yeah, one of these days. We have a new Kamen Rider Betrayed War game for us all to not play. It's coming out. We don't know any details other than it's obviously going to have Drive and probably Maha and Chase, and Ghost is going to be in it as well.
It's a slow fucking news week, isn't it?
I don't know. I think I like Dynasty Warriors style games. They're a bit of a guilty pleasure of mine, so I think a new Betrayed War coming out is cool. I will look forward to watching YouTube videos of it. Just to see...
I look forward to that as well.
Like, what the stages they got, what the special moves and transformations and stuff they get. Like, how
shitty the graphics are.
How many tire changes are there going to be for Drive? How many are they going to put in there?
The newest rider always gets fucking everything, and then in the next game, all their abilities are cut down by fucking half.
Stripped away. It's the Metroid problem. So that's video games. The CSM Gattack Sector is up for pre-order right now.
All you have to do is spend $75,000.
It's I don't know the exact price. It is an exorbitant sum. It's got to be at least $100. But man, it looks good.
You already have a Gattack Sector.
I'm happy with my DX Gattack Sector. It's the belt though, man. That fucking belt. The show accurate belt.
That is pretty fucking awesome.
The DX Kabuto belt is a piece of shit. But that CSM belt looks so sexy, I want it real bad.
You have bills to pay, mouths to feed.
I got one mouth to feed, and that's the great maw of Kamen Rider toys.
Fucking Toei salutes you, man. You are the consumer they're looking for.
Exactly. I'm exactly the man. Personally, I find this the most exciting piece of news this week. Hiro Mizushima, otherwise known as Tendo Soji, otherwise known as Kamen Rider Kabuto, is going to guest star in the HBO sitcom Girls, if you've ever heard of that show.
I don't think it's a sitcom, exactly.
Well,
it's like a drama series.
I don't know. I've never seen it.
I haven't either. I don't really know what it is.
It's a show about like some 20-something girls who have misadventures, and Tendo Soji is going to be on it soon, so... Yeah. I'm gonna fucking watch that episode.
You get
for
to
sure.
hear his stupid fucking American accent he puts on.
It's been like 9-10 years since Kabuto. I'm sure he's fixed it.
I doubt it.
We'll see. I'm personally very excited. I want to watch that, and I want to talk about it on the show.
I've never watched an episode of Girls in my life, but you bet your ass I'm gonna watch the episode that has Kamen Rider Kabuto in it.
Imagine if he just plays Tendo. I would piss myself. It's never gonna happen, but that would be fucking hilarious.
It's never gonna happen.
I think that character would work in like a Friends scenario, like Monica's new boyfriend.
I don't think this show is Friends.
I don't know, man. I haven't watched it.
Tendo Soji comes to town. He's an old schoolmate of Chandler's. He hits on Monica. Oh no!
Yeah, exactly. And he's like the perfect guy who's secretly a really big douche or something, just like Tendo.
Monica cheats on Chandler with Tendo Soji. What happens next will shock you.
Judging from what I've seen of Girls, it looks like a dramedy. I don't know.
I don't know what the fuck it is. I'm not gonna pretend.
Anyways, Hiro Mizushima says, I'll be guest starring on Girls Season 5. I'm honored to have been a part of this project. See you in 2016. So, sit back and wait a while, but I'm fucking excited for that.
Isn't that the motto of all Kamen Rider related shit? Sit back and wait.
Sit back and wait. That's Kamen Rider movies. That's the motto of.
It is.
That looks cool. Sit back and wait, motherfucker.
Speaking of Kamen Rider movies,
that's the end of news for this week. This week the subs got released. Orange Lion put out the subs for Kamen Rider 3, Superhero Wars Grand Prix.
No.
No?
Superhero Taisen, you fucking baka gaijin.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Superhero Taisen GP Kamen Rider 3 stars some washed-up singer who really wants to be a Kamen Rider, who is evil and then not evil and then good again.
It features characters who do things in a setting.
Our hero, Tamari Shinosuke, is caught up in a whirlwind adventure when the world is taken over by Shocker through time fuckery, and then disappears from the plot for 25 minutes, returns, and then there's a race. Liam, what did you think of this perfect movie.
I thought it was alright, honestly. I thought it was okay.
What is it like having such bad opinions, Liam?
Really, it wasn't that bad. The basic plot is very simple, which I appreciate a lot. It manages to incorporate time travel and history changing, and doesn't completely fuck it up. It's a very simple story of, like, what if Kamen Rider 1 and 2 lost? Shocker rules the world, we gotta go to Rider Town, and that's... I can't go anymore without doing spoilers. Let's try and avoid spoilers for the early bit, at least. But, like, it's nice and simple, it's paced fine up until the very end. Where the movie, I think, really stumbles is its characters and its dialogue and the character motivations, which are... Most of the dialogue is purely expository. Most of the characters' motivations make no fucking sense. And there's some really embarrassing... There is Showa disrespect, TM, all over this movie. That is
absolutely my biggest fucking problem with this movie.
I didn't have a big problem with it. It irked me a little bit, but I knew you were going to have a problem with it.
It starts out with this scene. Here's my mindset as the scene comes in and it's raining. It says 1971. There's this really cool junkyard scene. It's lit really amazingly. And I'm like, how fucking awesome would it be if we get to see a fight scene with Kamen Rider 1 and 2 in this sweet-ass fucking setup with this lighting?
Wow, I guess you're a loser who was wrong.
Yeah, no kidding. A fucking busted TV in a garbage pile comes on and it starts showing what is essentially supposed to be the 1971 Kamen Rider series.
It's a pale imitation. It's something that had such a cool idea. Where, like, let's frame it like it's actual old footage. But they don't... in the end, it just looks like new footage, but in 4x3 instead of 16x9. They still use new special effects and everything. They still use new suits, and it just doesn't look old. And
it's also horrifically insulting to the original series. Like, the action is basically characters grab each other's faces and then fall backwards. And the dialogue is them saying the same thing 3 different times, over and over again. Neither of which happened in the fucking original series. The fighting could get awkward once in a blue moon, I guess, but it was really well done for the most part.
Yeah,
none of the dialogue was that fucking stupid.
That's, I think, a staple of old Toku, is the fight choreography is way, way better than new Toku. So if you're gonna do old Toku, at least have some, like... Don't have big special effects fights if you want to emulate old Toku. Have the riders just jumping around, like, doing actual punches and kicks and front flips and shit.
Instead, they grab the fucking... they grab Great Leader's face and tug on it a couple times, and then fall backwards, and then he has a different head. And then he fucking falls over, and a shitty CG explosion happens that doesn't do anything, and the riders look at each other and nod. Fuck you, Toei. My problem with that was... Kamen Rider has been super respectful of Showa. There's this there's this really high level of reverence for Showa. This is where we came from, and we want to hold on to that legacy. But the beginning of this movie is like, haha, look how stupid this old fucking series was. Look at bad special effects. They didn't know what they were doing.
See, the thing is, I'm not sure if this came from a place of genuine malice. It just seems like incompetence to me. Like, we want to do old footage, but we don't want to put any real effort into it. We don't want to put any actual, like... We don't want to actually make it look or feel like an old Kamen Rider show. Just fucking do it quick. Use the new special effects. Have the super cool new rider kick the 2 older riders' asses.
Well, that part is fine. That's not what bugs me. The shit that happened with Great Leader in the TV is what bugs me, because it's obviously supposed to be a parody of the old show.
Yeah,
the actual fight scene with Rider 1 and Rider 2 fighting Kamen Rider My Original Character 3 is Kamen pretty Rider well the done. Hedgehog. Yeah, it's pretty well done, actually.
That was where I took issue, actually, is that fight scene.
It's just a new fight scene. I'm not entirely sure they were trying to emulate the old style during that scene, because it cuts from the old style to that new style.
But it's still in 4x3. It's still supposed to be the old footage. And if you're going to do that, don't have these, like, new-looking X-ray special effects on Rider 3. Stick a fucking sparkler on his arm or something. It's 10 times cheaper and it looks authentic. Don't...
Yeah, I agree. They did screw the pooch if they were trying to recreate a Showa fight.
That irked me a lot. That whole scene.
I think the one before it is what bugged me more. It just... They took that reverence that they had for Rider 1 and Rider 2 and just shoved it right up their own asses.
Threw it out the window.
And it comes back later for a couple scenes, that reverence for Rider 1 and 2. But the other Showa Riders do not fare so well.
Ooh, especially poor V3.
V3 is basically an afterthought in this movie. They're like, hey, our rider's named 3. Don't we already have one of those?
There is one line V3 says where he says, oh, Kamen Rider 3, fight me for the title of real Kamen Rider 3. And then there's a big dumb fight scene. And then later on in the movie, when Kamen Rider 3 proves himself to be a noble soul, V3 steps forward and says, you are the real Kamen Rider 3. I'm just some punk.
Somebody brought this to my attention, like on Twitter. It just lit a light bulb above my head anyway. Most of these movies seem like bad fan fiction.
Well, with Kamen Rider 3 especially, is like, he's this super badass guy. That's what I'm saying, is the characters in this movie are so fucking weak.
Yeah, Kamen Rider 3 is absolutely fucking unlikable. There's nothing likable about his character.
Yeah. I mean, there's nifty things about him aesthetically, I think. I like that they got an older guy to play him. They should have gone full board and gotten like a 60-year-old, but they're never going to do that.
No,
I
absolutely
like
not.
That his belt, they don't have to go totally toyetic with it, because they're probably not going to sell it. So he has a transformation pose that's like a kind of combination between Rider 1 and 2, where he does the diagonal arm thing, and then he hits one side of it, and then he goes into like the muscle pose sort of thing, and then he hits the other side. I thought that was pretty nifty, and there's like the rockets. Aesthetically, I love it.
Aesthetically, he is a great rider.
But
personality-wise, he is a fucking pile of flaming garbage on your front porch on Halloween.
Yeah.
He ruins the fun that you could have had with this holiday.
If he wasn't in the movie, it would have been, I think, a little better. You gotta focus on the old riders that you know and love.
The old riders who show up, all of the actors that return do absolutely fucking nothing of work.
Some of them do something. It's Fies who is the offender of doing nothing.
They move from scene to scene and change personalities when it's necessary.
Garen does that, yes. I thought Zoronos
does that as well, because that's not... The only time that he has his actual show personality is when Deneb is on screen for the 5 seconds he's on screen total in this movie.
I have not seen Deno, so I don't know how true Zoronos was to his original character.
I mean, there's shades of it, absolutely. But characters' personalities change depending on what is necessary to give the expository information to move from scene to scene.
Yeah.
Fies is the worst offender of that. Let's go ahead and mark this as from here on out spoilers.
Okay, from here on out spoilers, skip to 1 hour and 11 seconds to avoid them.
Did you ever actually put in...
I did, actually.
Cool.
I put it. Don't worry. I'm a good guy.
Alright, Fies is a fucking atrocious in this.
Fies is like... I feel like they have the script written and done, and then Takumi's actor was like, hey, I want to come back. Can I come back? I need a paycheck real bad. And they were like, alright, we'll work him in somehow. We'll give him a couple scenes. He has no bearing on the plot ever. No.
He gives expository information to move the plot ahead, but it's unnecessary expository information. He's like, by the way, Kamen Rider 3's really a bad guy. And then in the next scene, Kamen Rider 3's like, by the way, I'm actually a bad guy.
Fies, he shows up, he has a fight with Mach, an admittedly very cool fight with Mach. One of the things I pretty liked about this movie.
It is pretty awesome.
The fight choreography is good. The special effects are pretty good. Obviously, from a movie, you always expect a sort of higher level of budget. And some of the cinematography is neat, but I'm getting off topic. Fies shows up, he has a cool fight with Mach. And then he's like, oh, I'm a Shocker Rider, I'm evil, just like Rider 3. He's tricking you. And then, in a later scene, he pops up during the race, and he helps Shinosuke out. And he's like, even though I'm evil, I'm still a Kamen Rider. And then that's the end of Fies. Thank you for watching.
Fies always had a lack of motivation as a part of his character.
Yeah.
He has no dream of his own. But there's a scene where he untransforms and says, I give up. I don't want to fight anymore. By the way, Rider 3's evil. Anyway, I'm done with this movie.
Because if Mach wins, then Fies can't come back for no reason later. And if Fies wins, then Mach can't go and keep advancing the plot. So you gotta have Fies just be like, alright, hey, time out, we're done, friend. It's especially frustrating.
Fucking, the characters, man, fuck.
It's especially frustrating because you said this, we were talking about this earlier. One of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life, Heisei vs. Showa, actually outdoes this movie in terms of its characters. And Fies was one of them that was good, and here he is back, and he's such a fucking awful...
Heisei vs. Showa has the X and Fies subplot, which is the best part of that movie.
Easily.
If that movie was just that, it would be great.
It would have been a masterpiece. And now we have Fies back, and I'm like, oh, Fies, he was good in the last one. He was like the shining light in the last one, and now he's like a big dark spot.
He's nothing. He's like a fucking side
He's
note.
a black hole. He's nothing, and he eats up everything around him.
If you went to the Kamen Rider wiki, bastion of true information that it is...
Absolutely not made up information.
They could have like a fucking footnote at the end of the description of this movie, like the plot description, and just at the bottom of the page say, by the way, Fies was in this.
Yeah.
And that would cover it perfectly.
Speaking of characters with wonky motivations who do things for no reason, Garen is in this movie. They got Garen's face actor back. And Garen also... Garen does stuff to affect the plot. Kinda. He's a good guy at first. He's with the team going to find Rider Town. And then it turns out he's leading them into a trap. And the Blade Riders all come out and they start fighting him. And Garen's like, oh, I'm a Shocker Rider. Fuck you. And then, during the big dumb fight scene at the end, Garen jumps back in and starts fighting for the good guys. And he turns and says, I don't know if this is an exact quote, he says, I may have lost everything, but at least I still have my friends. And then he goes and fights, and it's like, motherfucker, aren't you still brainwashed? Like, it's the same as Fies. He just pops in for no reason, and he's good for no reason.
Jesus
It's
Christ.
a mess.
Yeah, Garen's motivation is the one that's the most fucked up in this entire movie.
He wants to be a Shocker executive. And then, like, okay, if he has a change of heart, alright, but please show that. Don't just have him...
Have them say something about it, at least.
Like, there's a touching scene, one of the good scenes, I thought, in the movie, where Shinosuke is racing with all his might, and a little child watching it decides to start cheering for Shinosuke. And a Shocker guy comes over to start beating him up, and people start, like, rebelling and beating up the Shocker guards. You could have just shoved in a little scene with Garen there. Like, oh, Shocker's bad. It would have been, like, 2 shots, maybe, something so quick.
Yeah,
but
just have him, like, look at his hands and go, am I the villain?
Exactly. It would have been easy, but they didn't go for it. I don't know.
They just have him show up and say some cheesy fucking line and start fighting.
Yeah, I can't understand this movie. I can't understand the characters in this film.
You can't talk about character motivation being fucked up and useless without talking about Kamen Rider 3 himself.
Ooh.
Kamen Rider 3's motivation at the beginning of the movie seems to be, I want to make up for the fact that I killed Kamen Rider 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
I want to atone for my sins. And it keeps cutting back to them dying in the fire every time he talks.
Yeah.
Like 30 times in the movie it cuts back to that scene, and you're like, wow, this guy really is haunted by this.
Mm-hmm.
And then at a certain point in the movie, he's just like, haha, I'm actually a big fucking asshole villain, and I don't even give a shit. I don't give a fuck about Kamen Rider 1 and 2.
This is my favorite part, one of my favorite parts in this movie. He comes out and he says, all that remorse shit was a lie. It was all a lie. And Shinosuke goes, no, you can't be evil because you felt remorse. And I'm like, he just said it was a fucking lie, Shinosuke. What do you want from him? Like,
and then Shinosuke fucking whines about it so hard that Kamen Rider 3's like, maybe he's right. Maybe I actually do feel remorse.
I guess the squeaky wheel does get the grease eventually.
And then he gets shoved into the heart of a giant stupid fucking robot and escapes. And somehow that makes him a hero.
I'll defend the story and pacing of this movie with my dying breath, but the giant robot, I think from the race onwards is where it becomes indefensible. It's just the giant robot, I think, is the biggest offender of this big unnecessary thing. It comes out of nowhere, and it's obviously just there to have the ninjas come in.
Yeah. Please
watch Ninja if you aren't already.
It's a giant robot that has a beam weapon that erases people from time, And instead of using that shit, it stands there and fires machine guns into a crowd of people, so it can just cause explosions everywhere.
Yeah, I don't... It's one of those things that it's clearly just... It's there for a specific marketing purpose. And...
During that scene, when the ninjas do their fucking combination with the Trideron...
Shuriken, Gatai, Trideron...
I had a fucking look on my face like I just stepped in shit the whole time. Like, I felt pained during that scene. I was like, is this really fucking happening?
Oh, yes, it was.
Ugh.
I did like the little detail. You know, the ninjas, they always stick their little swords into the slot to control the thing. Drive sticks the steering sword in, and he uses the steering wheel. I thought that was... There are good things about this movie sprinkled around.
That was clever. Hey, you know who else was in this movie?
Kotaro.
Yeah.
Wow.
Kotaro Minami.
Kotaro...
We completely fucking forgot about him for a minute.
We totally left him. Even though he was the part... I was watching this movie, like I said, I joked about forgetting about this movie, but I actually forgot about it. It came out, and I was like, oh shit, there it is.
Yeah, exactly.
I started watching it, and I was just like, okay, it's an alright movie so far, whatever. And then fucking Kotaro showed up, and I had completely, totally forgotten he was in this movie. And I lost it right there. I was like, oh yeah! He's fucking... Ugh. And they gave him a new suit, and it doesn't look like he's wearing tights all the time, necessarily. Only for really big stunts.
The pants are better.
Yeah.
The pants are better on this one.
It looks much better, and he's super cool, and he kicks ass, and he gets his ass kicked.
Yeah, he gets his shit rocked, but he's the one who brings that light of hope to Shinosuke that makes him turn into a good guy.
Yeah, he's a bright spot in this movie. He is a staunch defender of justice against all odds, which is really cool for a Showa rider. Yeah. It's absolutely what you want a Showa rider to be.
You don't want a Showa rider to be, you're the real Kamen Rider 3.
Black gets his ass kicked. He dies, quote unquote, allowing Shinosuke to escape, and then comes back later, unfortunately, as Black RX.
He comes back as Black RX, and this has been pointed out a million times before, but why was his suit actor so fat?
Was his suit actor fat? I didn't notice.
Yeah, he might not have been fat, but he was, bigger.
The Black RX suit it looks fat. It's a piece of shit suit, and I hate it. And that's one of the reasons, I think. It looks kind of fat. Maybe...
If you look at, the Showa version and this version, it's like he put on 30 pounds. And I feel like that might be because they already had so many people wearing suits.
Yeah.
That they had to get somebody else to do it. Because Black RX doesn't really do anything all that impressive. He does, a couple
He does the
punches
revolt
and kicks.
crash, yeah.
Yeah, and he does his revel crash. That's it.
Yeah, that's...
And he was chunky, man. I don't really have all that much room to talk over here or whatever, but man...
Speaking of which...
It just really took me out for a second. This movie wasn't immersive at all.
It was immersive for me, because I didn't notice that shit.
It took me out when I saw that. I was like, what the fuck? Why?
Speaking of...
Because Tetsuo Kurata is so fucking thin.
I was just going to say, Tetsuo Kurata looks great in this movie. He's kept in shape all these years.
Yeah, I'd still do it.
Oh yeah, totally. I'd smooch him. He's still got the intense eyebrows that I liked him so much for in black. It's beautiful.
He rocks a fucking white suit like nobody. That is the coolest fucking outfit I've ever seen in rider history.
One last thing before I want to talk about stuff we liked about this movie because it wasn't all bad. But one last thing, one last thing I want to say. My favorite thing about this movie, my number one favorite thing, and this is a huge spoiler. Mach, at one point in the final fight, gets surrounded by baddies and he gets killed. And at the time, Drive's like, Mach! And then he goes back to fighting. And at the end of the movie, time gets reset back to normal. Shocker is erased. They get beat. Kiriko's like, oh, one thing didn't get reset to normal. Go is still dead. Oh, that's so sad. And Shinosuke goes, yep, we'll always remember him. And that is the last thing. That is the only thing that is said about Go after his death.
Yeah. What a way to end your fucking theatrical release so that kids can go home and on Saturday morning see Kamen Rider and Go's still fucking alive.
Yeah, it's just like the giant robot. It's another huge marketing ploy to watch the TV specials of Kamen Rider 4, where Go is revived, I think.
Yeah, I think he dies again.
Well, I've seen in the first episode, it's a Groundhog Day sort of thing, where the day keeps resetting and Mach keeps dying, and Shinosuke has to figure out a way to stop it. So that's
more comedic than anything.
That's episode 1. I haven't seen the others. I don't even know if they're available, but
Does it get to the point where Go's like tripping on banana peels and hitting his head and dying, or
No, it only happens 3 times, and it's always a kaijin, so there's that.
That's something I liked about this, is that Gen is not only a Shocker lieutenant, but he's a fucking kaijin. He is the cheetah snail.
The cheetah snail. That's so great. I wasn't expecting that at all, and it was such a delightful surprise.
It really was. It's like, that's probably my favorite part of this movie, is that he's cheetah snail.
And he's a present villain throughout the whole movie, too.
Oh yeah, he's the one who kills Go.
And he keeps turning into cheetah snail the whole time. You never forget that he's cheetah snail. It's a great detail.
It really is.
Another thing I like about this movie is that they keep a lot of the Nazi imagery of Shocker intact. They don't actually allude to neo-Nazi, but they have the salute, which is suspiciously like a Nazi salute. They have the uniforms, which are very Nazi-esque. But number one for me is they have the Shocker youth, which is very obviously an allusion to the Hitler youth.
Yeah, absolutely. They're being chosen to be turned into cyborgs for their merit.
Yeah, it's a very cheeky little, neo-Nazis, by the way, that would never ever fly in a superhero movie in the U.S.
Oh, hell no.
But here it is. You can't even
have a fucking Nazi in Captain America.
That was a crime in Captain America.
Yeah, it was.
No swastikas ever. What the hell? But in this movie, they're not afraid to, even though it's for little kids, they're not afraid to, do little pokes, oh yeah, by the way, Shocker's neo-Nazis. Remember that? They kept that in. They had the balls.
I don't want to talk about things I like for a minute. I want to talk about something that sideswiped the fuck out of me in this movie.
What's that?
I'd been hearing for months and months and months that this really popular comedian was cast to play Tobei Tachibana.
Oh, this is something I didn't like.
And it sideswiped me. I didn't like it. It sideswiped me.
Okay.
Tachibana Tobei, for those who don't know, get your shit together. He is the mentor character from Kamen Rider 1, from the 1971 Kamen Rider, from all of them, from that one on to Stronger.
Yeah, all the 7 legendaries have Tobei Tachibana in them in some way.
Yeah, Tachibana is their mentor figure, one way or another.
Yeah.
Whether he's in the entire series or part of it, like Amazon.
Yeah.
So I was leery because this guy was a bald, goofy motherfucker.
Yeah.
And then the movie comes along, Zoronos gets to Rider Town, or whatever.
He gets to the Hongo Mansion in Rider Town.
He opens the door, and the Tachibana in this movie is not the Tachibana from the original series. He's the Tachibana from the manga, who's the Hongo family butler, which is weird as fuck. What a weird reference to put in this movie.
It's quite a strange tie-in. You think the show is separate from the manga, but I guess if you start getting into alternate universe shenanigans, then
I guess
a little more leeway.
But, what sideswiped me is he's not really the Hongo mansion butler. He's just a fucking plot device to get Zoronos from the front door of the mansion to the room where the giant robot brain is, and trick him into thinking that it's Hongo in there.
Rider Town is actually Shocker Town, and the computers that have Rider 1 and 2's brains it's actually a great leader.
Plot. What a good plot this movie is.
You know what? It's decent. Let me talk about this for a bit.
Go right ahead.
For a Movie Wars movie, this plot is so simple and straightforward and linear, which is really nice. For a piece of shit, it barely smells as bad as other pieces of shit smell. It's really not that bad. If this movie had better characters, I would have actually liked it. With the same plot. You have the Shocker rules the world. You live under an oppressive regime.
It was a good plot. It was a good idea.
And they have to travel to Rider Town where, the resistance is. Yeah. And then there's a couple plot twists along the way. The plot twist with Garen being bad was fine. It's just horse shit that he turned around and was good later. There's the plot twist that Rider Town is a lie, and it's a trap, and it puts the heroes in, a good dire situation to set them up for the climax. I think it was an absolutely fine plot. It was simple, and it was straightforward, and it worked for what they were trying to do. Up until the end. That little caveat. The end was a piece of shit, but up till that part I thought it was fine. Totally fine. My problem with the Rider Town, Shocker Town twist and the dire straits that they're put in is that how fucking ridiculous the race idea is. The race idea is hey, let's have a race, and Great Leader for absolutely no fucking reason is yeah, I'm interested in this for some reason. Let's have a race. Well, I think his... This is why I say from the race on it falls apart. His motivation is that he wants to use the strongest and fastest rider as the core of his giant robot. But in the end, Kamen Rider 3 doesn't win.
And then he says,
you didn't win Kamen Rider 3, but you're still the strongest and fastest, so I'm still going to use you. So what was the point of the race in the first place?
There was no point. It was just because they wanted to do a race.
If it was actually just a straight-up race and Shinosuke won and Shocker relented, that would have been fine. That was the end. It ends in a big, huge, cool race scene. I like races. But this
from
was
the race
weird.
onward, yeah, the end of the race onwards, it becomes this huge fucking clusterfuck. People are barely punching and kicking at each other constantly in this huge group.
It's like you have big crowd fights, and the camera pans over. Look at all these riders fighting each other, and it's like, I feel nothing. I feel nothing in this scene.
Absolutely not. The plot is simple. It works up until that point. There's no problem. Besides, like, a few things that I can nitpick here and there that bug me about it. Yeah. But every plot has something like that.
Yeah, I mean...
My problem is, in my opinion, if you're going to have, like, a really linear plot that has no frills, no extras, it's going to be really simple, you have to have strong characters in order to make a good movie. And at least, like, a really good movie. You have to have strong characters if you're going to have a simple plot. Like, think about how simple the Avengers movie is.
Mm-hmm.
For an example, if the Avengers movie had shitty characters, or like characters that we weren't interested in, that movie would have been a piece of horse shit. Because there's nothing to move the plot forward. You're not interested in seeing where these characters go or what they do. Because they're so fucking ridiculous.
You're right, and that's why I say the movie is okay instead of being good.
Oh yeah, I can agree with that. I feel no connection to this movie.
There's no anchor character.
I got angry with Heisei vs. Showa because there was so much potential there.
Yeah.
Like the Exit Fives part, all the parts where Shotaro shows up, even the parts where Decade.
Yeah, Decade is great
parts
in Heisei vs. Showa.
Yeah, he's great in that. And Gaim's little bits and stuff. There was a lot of potential for that movie, and they fucking squandered it. And this movie doesn't anger me. It doesn't, like, make me happy. It doesn't make me sad. I just don't give a shit.
It's a neat concept that you have this rider that faded away into history in the real world, and then you have him brought into the forefront, and he sort of plays a character that is himself terrified of fading away into history, and that's why he wants to win so bad. He's like, oh, the winner gets remembered. Yeah. The winner writes the history textbooks. I'm not going to be forgotten like I was in real life. I thought that was a nifty little angle for him. But
they didn't really play that up enough for it to register all that much.
It's a couple lines. That should have been his whole character.
Yeah. Instead of, like, I need to win.
Yeah.
Why? Because winner's your best.
I'm a big bad man. I'm the real Kamen Rider 3.
Yeah, he is. V3 admitted it.
V3 gave the title over.
That's forever.
That's
you can't wipe that out.
You can't undo that. V3 is a big bitch.
Kamen Rider 3 as a character is like some 14-year-old's original character in his fan fiction. He just beats up all the riders.
He's super cool.
All the riders say he's better than them.
He's super cool. He's super strong. He's mysterious. He beats up all the main characters. Everyone loves him. Fuck Kamen Rider.
Everybody admits he's the best.
Yeah.
At the end.
They're like, wow, we love you. They all stand and hold hands around him. They're like, you're gonna disappear. That's so the worst, man. We love you.
We love you. I'm surprised he didn't fuck Kiriko, honestly.
Well, wait.
That was the only thing that was missing.
Wait for the TV special, Kamen Rider 4. You don't know yet.
That was the only thing that was missing. Like, I got shades of Decade a little bit, where he just, like, fucking, he's the best. Everybody knows that he wins all the time.
I haven't seen Decade, so I couldn't tell you, but there it is.
He had none of the charm of Decade as a character, though.
Oh, okay. Yeah. He wasn't a charming guy, Kamen Rider 3, that's for sure.
No. He was fucking deadpan and a dickhead, and that was his whole character.
Yeah. You know...
Not fun.
You know one of my favorite things about this movie? One thing that I genuinely enjoyed?
What's that?
Kamen Rider J's appearance.
Oh, yeah, that was great.
He's a shocker rider, he's a bad guy, and when they're on their way to Rider Town, they get ambushed by Jay in a forest, and he, like... There's this shot where it's like, here's these trees, and it's like they rumble to the side, and Jay sticks his head in between them, and it's like... It's got good cinematography, and it gives a proper fucking sense of scale when Jay enters the scene.
Oh yeah, he seems massive.
I love it.
It's not just him with a gray filter over him, standing over the top of a shot.
Everything's a gray filter with you.
It always fucking is, but it's just really well done. And even when, like, the Trideron is trying to escape and he, like, punches over the cliff at it, it's really cool looking.
It was the same in Heisei vs. Showa. Jay had this, he was just like this really cool action set piece. I hope that's a trend. I like having Jay take the spotlight for a little bit to be a big bad guy.
Jay is massive, and he should have a massive presence in all the crossovers.
I love him.
At some point, we're going to have to organize a viewing of Jay, I think. Because a lot of people haven't seen it. It's a really fun movie.
Jay is great. You should see it if you haven't seen it.
So, overall, what's your opinion of Heisei vs. Showa 2 Electric Boogaloo?
Overall, good plot, bad characters. Awful ending. I can't say I recommend it, but I didn't hate it myself. I thought it was okay.
I have no strong feelings one way or the other.
Yeah.
I would not recommend it, however. Actually, I do have a strong feeling in that it's a piece of poopy.
Okay. Too much Showa disrespect sprinkled throughout this movie.
I would not recommend it.
Yeah.
If you hate Showa, if you are the Showa troll,
if you're out there,
you will love this movie. But otherwise, if you're not a fan of bad movies with terrible characters, I can't recommend it.
Ah, well. Them's the breaks.
That was Hero Taisen GP, Kamen Rider, my original character.
Kamen Rider the Hedgehog. Beats all the other characters.
Let's get some viewer mail in before we call it a day. We're like fucking way over. Let's do some
We
viewer
are
mail.
way over the usual time, but who gives a shit?
Who gives a fuck?
Casey emailed in, and Casey says, "What show do you think needs a new sub/scrub the most?" Casey is also scrubbing Kabuto, so thumbs up for you.
Yeah, thumbs up. Kabuto was probably what I was gonna say, but you're already on that.
Yeah.
So I would say Agito.
Yeah, Agito.
Agito has TV Nihon subs, which I'm not one of those people who vehemently hate TV Nihon or whatever. But I could use some subs that aren't all like Agito Tachi.
Big fancy fonts and honorifics all over the place.
Something that's a little less stringently like keeping to the Japanese way of speaking and stuff. Like it takes me out.
Yeah, I would prefer smooth reading over accuracy in my subs. Personally.
Yeah, that's just a personal opinion that we have. Some people are really, like, rabid about this shit. Like, they'll fight you for having a differing opinion on how you want to read little white text at the bottom of a screen.
Well, subs are important. If you, like, it's really easy for a writer to misunderstand the point of the writing and really fuck up the characters. It's, like, the translation quality is actually quite important, I think.
I can agree with that. I just don't think we should be, like, going on, like, a jihad or anything about it.
I was just getting my guns ready. Shit. Oh, well. So that's,
What do you think? You didn't say anything.
I would say Ryuki, but Ryuki's getting subbed, and he's done a good job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so far it's been pretty good.
So Ryuki's been getting on that. I think needs a new sub scrub. Anything Showa that's been done by HK Bootleg. I want to say. I'm gonna make a blanket response.
Yeah, I watched Super 1 with HK Bootleg subs.
You're a better man than I.
That was fun.
I bet it was. Oh, God.
We have a question here from a longtime listener, every-time writer, Cyberman Wharf.
Okay.
And he says, my question for this week is if Showa vs. Heisei was done better, a.k.a. not written badly and without the flower ending, who would have won between the two groups of writers? What do you think, buddy?
Who would have won? I'm very inclined to say Heisei.
I am as well. Like I'm big on Showa, but Heisei have writers that can destroy the world with the full-powered kick.
Showa writers are very tough and very strong, and they can resist nukes and stuff, but they can't stop time. They can't move faster than the eye can see. They can't blow up the world. They don't have super cool final forms except for stronger.
And people will always bring up, and I used to bring this up as well, that while the Heisei riders are switching out their doodads or whatever, the Showa riders will like run up and punch them in the face or something.
That's not honorable.
It's not honorable, and also the Showa riders always stand and wait while the Kaijin transform.
Yeah.
In the original series, so
you have a bit of respect for your opponent. They are a fellow Kamen rider, you know.
I absolutely love Showa riders, but I would have to say that Heisei would edge it out.
I think so as well. I would rather watch a movie where Showa wins, but...
Oh yeah, absolutely. Something about, like, a lesson in respecting your elders. A lesson in understanding, like, that experience makes you a good hero.
It could be...
not doodads.
The lesson could be that no matter how great you are at something, there will always be someone better who has been doing it for a much longer time. But that shouldn't mean you should give up.
Yeah, that's a damn good lesson to learn.
Yeah. I think that's a good lesson to teach kids, so that they don't give up when they see someone better than them.
Man, that is a really good lesson for artists to learn.
I find artists
honestly.
are really down on themselves about that shit as well.
Oh, yeah. It takes a lot to look at your own work and be like, well, I've progressed.
Yeah.
I should be happy with that. But it goes for everybody.
Yeah. Chris wants to know, what is your favorite kind of belt? Do you want a belt with lots of gimmicks and doodads and shit that you shove into it, or do you want a nice, simple belt like Kuga? What do you think, Jeff?
I'm actually on the fence about this because I love the simple belt because it doesn't get in the way of the action. Mm-hmm. There's not a ton of like stopping and pulling a doodad out and shoving another doodad in. Like Kuga and Agito have really seamless kung fu action in them.
Absolutely.
And I prefer that over like the stopping and starting, the shooting a beam. Mm. But the rider belts with the doodads are so fucking fun. Like there's something satisfying about that, like, transformation by just taking a thing out and putting another thing in. And the belt voices are always really fun and interesting and get stuck in your head and you repeat them all the time. I gotta say, like, I'm really on the fence about this one. What do you think?
I'm not on the fence. I like doodad belts, I think. I think there's so much charm in having little gadgets, like little lock seeds or even shift cars or advent decks that you shove in there. Or whatever, medals. I just think I like little doodad gadget toys, things like that. They're nifty. I like them.
Yeah, I like them too. Like, it's really tough to choose.
Most riders that have normal belts, like the Showa riders or like Kuga, their poses are all, like, mostly aesthetic. You know, they wave their arms around, they do the thing, and it looks cool. But when you have the gadget belt, the activation of the belt becomes the pose, in a way.
That's
it's
true.
Incorporated.
There's always a bunch of extra shit, though. Like, look at Koda's wild arm flailing.
Koda, who just has, like, a fucking fit as he shoves the lock seat in.
He just fucking flails as hard as he possibly can. I'm impressed with that sort of dedication to your transformation.
He's great. I love him. I love you, Koda.
We got an email from Jake, who says, I was just wondering what your guys' beef is with Decade. I hear you guys make fun of him a lot, and the general online response to him is hate. Maybe it's just because it was the second Rider series I watched, but I love Decade a lot. So what's with the hate? Liam has not actually watched Decade, so he's just judging Decade as a character based on
You'll
crossovers.
Notice I don't shit on Decade that much because I haven't seen his show, but like whenever he appears in a crossover, I think he's fine. Like he's a really fun little side character as like, oh, I'm the connecting guy. I'm here in your world. All right, see ya. Poof. I like him like that. He's like this weird little odd guy. I think he's okay. I hear his series is absolute horseshit, though. But this is more a question for Jeff. I think he's got a huge beef with Decade.
I don't have a beef with Decade as a character because, at least outside of his series, he's actually a really fun character in crossovers.
Yeah.
Like, Masahiro Inoue is...
I love that guy.
He's a really fun actor. He brings like a really lively spirit to every character he plays, whether it's this or in his character in Garo.
He loves Toku, and he's so happy to be there.
Yeah, which is something you don't get a lot of out of actors,
Yeah.
so I really appreciate that. And in crossovers, I'm always happy to see him. I might make some jokes and shit on him, but I'm always happy to see him.
As long as he doesn't steal the spotlight, but like he was great. Like we said earlier, he's great in Heisei vs. Showa.
Yeah, he was. My problem comes from his series, and it's mostly because I fucking watched all of it. That's my problem with his series.
I saw the whole thing. That's not really a glowing review.
it doesn't go anywhere. Like, the series is a bunch of little vignettes of him showing up in a writer's world, fucking them up in some way or another, either teaching them that he's a better writer, teaching them how to be a writer, or kicking their fucking ass. He's like a fan fiction character. Like, my character's the strongest writer. He has all the powers of all the other writers. He goes to their world and beats them up because he's edgy.
And I don't know if I'd call Decade edgy.
He turns out to be a fucking... that's a spoiler.
Oh, yeah, no, I know what you're talking about now, actually. I just remembered.
Spoilers from this moment until about 10 seconds from now. He turns out to be the great leader of Shocker. He's a villain.
Okay, yeah,
but
I remember
then that turns out to not really be... Decade has no story is a line that was actually said in a fucking Decade movie.
Yeah.
It has no story. There's no payoff at the ending. None of the characters are really that interesting or lovable in the series. There's always, like, a fun... Anytime that Narutaki shows up is always a fun little moment. Where he fucking shits all over Decade, and I'm like, I kind of agree with that guy. Decade himself... to begin with, near the beginning of the series especially, has none of the charm he develops later in the series. And that comes and goes. His charmingness is definitely in the crossover movies, because he is in a story that has a story.
Yeah, here, going into Decade, you have to sort of be prepared that it's episodic, purely, and it's not really...
There's an overarching story, but it's like the barest of bones. There's no real reason behind anything. What I mostly hear, people who get mad at me for pooping all over the Decade series are almost always like, Decade was my first series. So, regardless of its negatives, its problems, I still have a place in my heart for it. It's still a good series to me. And it was not my first series. I actually saw Double before I saw Decade. I caught the very end of Decade when I first started getting into tokusatsu. And I was like, well, that wasn't really very good. I guess I'll have to watch the whole series at some point.
Wait, you started Decade with, like, the...
I started in a stream that somebody was streaming the series as it came out. And I saw, like, the last 5 or 6 episodes and decided to watch it from the beginning again during Double's run. And going from Double to Decade was like going from story to no story. And, I mean, Double's very episodic as well. There's always the mystery behind everything, and it gets really heavy into story later on.
Yeah, post-Decade tends to be pretty episodic, with Gaim being the exception.
I guess I've rambled a bit about Decade.
No, it's fine, and people want to know.
I like Decade as a character, I just don't like his series. His series left such a sour taste in my mouth that I continually have to bring up.
I want to say something, though. Like I said, I haven't seen Decade, but I know there's one, I don't know if it's an episode or a two-parter, where he goes to Ryuki Land, and in Ryuki Land, everyone's a lawyer, and court battles are solved with Kamen Rider fights.
Yeah.
I would like a whole series about that, please.
It's not.
I would like a lawyer rider series.
It's not done all that well in Decade.
I know, but the idea is so cool.
It is a cool idea. I would like to see a series that's well done like that as well.
They were like, what should we do with Ryuki? Well, this one character's a lawyer. Let's just fucking make them all lawyers.
Yeah.
Sick.
I cannot wait to get all the hate mail.
It's all on you. It's not on me.
Yeah.
I'm safe. I have the shield.
Liam liked fucking Superhero Taisen GP. So.
Okay, come at me. Come at me if you didn't like Superhero Taisen GP. It was a masterpiece.
It's all good. What? Yeah, it's just an opinion. You might think it's a dumb opinion, but it's my opinion.
Yeah. Okay, it's a beautiful opinion.
Thank you, sir.
We have a question from Dank Ryder. I believe this person has asked one question before way long ago. But Dank Ryder wants to know, fuck, marry, kill, drive, chase, maha, go. Jeff, you go.
Why is go on here twice?
You funny motherfucker. You're so funny.
God, I'm gonna marry Shinosuke, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Shinosuke is husband material. He's got a good job. He's got a good heart.
Mm-hmm.
He's handsome and tall.
He's learned responsibility over the course of the series, so he'd be good.
I guess I would have to have tender love with Chase.
Yeah.
Because, look at that booty. And I'm sorry, Mock. I loved you at the beginning, but now you have to die.
Chase has an incredible ass, I will say.
You have to die like in every fucking movie appearance you've ever had, Mock.
That's a shame.
What about you, buddy? My heterosexual friend. Who would you screw of these pretty Japanese men?
Well, before I go lift some weights and eat some protein powder and have sex with some women, let me go talk about this. I would marry Mach, I think.
Really?
I would want to help him through his shit. He's a very tortured soul. He needs help. He doesn't have anybody in the show like to emotionally lean on.
Yeah, Liam is like a I can fix him type of woman.
Yeah, that's who I'm dating you purely out of pity. I hope that's okay.
Who would you fucking kill then?
I would fuck Chase and kill Drive. Drive, I don't hate Drive, just process of elimination. I have to kill one of you.
Wow.
Chase is so hot, though.
Everybody wants to have sex with Chase. Who knew?
I wonder if Kiriko is going to make the same choice.
The producers knew. That's why his pants kept getting tighter every episode.
That guy's ass is like the fucking main character of the show sometimes. It's on display. They put a little spotlight on it.
It really is. There are so many shots of him walking away from the camera.
Yeah.
It's like 90% of the shots in the series.
They know. The middle-aged moms who are watching it with their kids, they just threw in a little something for them.
Speaking of weird-ass questions, we have another question from Hotshot.
Oh, God.
He says, "Sup, guys? So going off my question from last week, which was, who would you want to be your father out of the writer characters? My question this week is, which writer would you be proud to call your son? Liam?
Knight, because he's a winner.
Your son belongs in prison. I want you to know that. He is a delinquent, sir.
No, he's great. Who would you pick?
You know, I'm gonna go in the opposite direction as you're fucking and marrying and whatnot, and say that I would want Go to be my son so that I could be a much better father than Bano. That is such a low bar to achieve that I think I can do it.
As long as you stay in the house, and don't run off and leave the whole family, you're already above them, so...
I could honestly run off and leave the whole family as long as I don't show up later and beat the shit out of him and tell him he doesn't mean anything to me.
That's true. As long as you don't paint his friend's suit gold and put it on. You're in a higher position.
As long as I don't slip Crocs with stickers on top of him when I start kicking him, it'll be fine.
But would you be proud to call Go your son, is the question.
I would be proud to call Go my son for the first 10 episodes he was in. Maybe I could be the person he could lean on.
Yeah.
If he refuses to marry your dumbass, maybe I could be the father figure he could lean on.
Thanks for listening to the Go Shijima Pity Party 2015.
I do feel bad for him.
I do too.
That was something I was going to mention in the Hero Taisen GP review, is that is the Go that I miss. The one who's like making wisecracks and doing cool poses and doing flips for no reason. I miss that guy.
Yeah, it's easy to look at Go's character arc and say, oh, he turned into such a shithead, but he's gone through some real shit since the series started.
Yeah, first off, his sister wanted to fuck a Roidmude. That's the first part.
That's still going down.
Ugh. Is that masturbation?
I don't need you asking these sorts of questions.
We're getting some deep questions.
This is a question for Isaac Asimov, not for me. I don't know.
If you haven't read Pluto...
You should read Pluto, by the way. Cha-ching.
We get paid by the mentions. Pluto, 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 Pluto. Are there any other emails this week?
That's the whole of it. We dried up the well.
I will say that we've gotten several questions, again, about whether we're going to do a spoiler cast in the future, and yes, we are. Spoiler casts aren't really something we plan for. It's just if there's golf or something, or like a special bulletin that takes up Rider for that week, then we'll just do a spoiler cast to fill
to fill the week.
And I mean, we might still just up and decide to make one in addition to our regular weekly episode. It just hasn't really hit us.
It's a maybe. Yet. Yeah. We're too lazy.
And we will probably be doing Ryuki.
Yeah.
So you'll get to hear 3 hours of Liam fucking talking about Night and me sighing heavily.
I can get it all out of my system there, and then I'll never mention Ryuki on the podcast again.
If you would like to listen to a podcast where one person wishes he was dead, tune into the Ryuki spoiler cast.
Brilliant.
I think that's all for this week, though.
That's it for this week. We have an email. That's we have a Twitter. That's at Rider Club Radio. We have an email. That's riderclubradio@gmail.com. Shoot us a tweet. Follow us on Twitter. Send us an email. We appreciate it. You're like 50% of the podcast content when you send us an email.
Yeah, you are 50%, and we love that 50% more than the show, even. So, if the show continues on the arc that it's on, that might be true.
I like reading questions more than early and late drive, so that's a big compliment for you guys.
We love interacting with you guys, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on Gmail, whether it's here on the podcast. So send in your shit.
You're beautiful people.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
See you next week.
See ya.